Hey folks, I just wanted to make a quick, well, relatively quick video going over Baraka because I've seen a lot of people asking for things like, what are the best starter characters, looking for advice on picking a character in Mortal Kombat 11. And I think Baraka is actually a great choice for pretty much anybody just picking up the game, especially if you're relatively new to Mortal Kombat or fighting games in general. This character is really good at helping you sort of adjust and pick up the game with a character that's not that complicated, but still quite strong. So, I mean, in a way, he's almost like the Ryu of this game. He doesn't have any gimmicks, and he has a very, like, sort of average tool set. He's got a projectile, some good footsies. Doesn't have a ton of tools for you to learn, but what he has is all quite strong. And I don't feel like he gets outplayed in too many matchups. So he's just sort of a great overall character right now. I'm going to be talking about Marauder in this video and not the other variation that's tournament legal called Bone Picker. Because that variation, while it's actually good, is a little bit more gimmicky than this one. It doesn't have as much damage, but it revolves around a command grab basically, for the most part, and I'm not really that worried about it because in general it's really just not as good as this one. This one has some additional normal attacks and a particular special move that is what gives this spec some absolutely absurd damage. So the first thing you're going to want to know about any character, but this one in particular because his normals are so important, are his normals and his strings. So the first one here, his standing 1 by itself isn't very remarkable. I think the biggest note about it is that it's like plus 16 on hit, but you're never really going to be doing this just by itself. There's two main strings you have out of this button, which is 1-1-2 and 1-2-2. Now this 1-1-2 is a high mid-mid, and it's sort of your main hit confirm. Whenever you're at close range and you're not sure, you're not sure what to do, 1-1-2 is kind of a good staple to reach for because it starts off of a 7-frame move, so the string starts up very fast. The second hit, while the first hit is a high, the second hit is a mid and comes out very fast. So even if they try to duck on that first hit, this mid usually comes out and forces them to block or counter hits them. The main nice thing about this string is that it is +1. So it's fast, it kind of forces them to block, and doesn't leave you in any kind of negative situation. The downside, if we turn on blocking for our friend here, is that it pushes you really far away. So you can't really do much with this +1. It just kind of guarantees that you're going to be okay. Now, if you fight, once you get better and you start fighting better players, this last hit of the string, there's a pretty big gap there. And some players will be familiar enough with Baraka to flawless block that hit, which can make this string a little bit more, a little bit riskier. But for the most part, people are not going to risk trying to flawless block this, considering it's only +1 and it pushes him so far back that he doesn't really get any pressure off of it. But it's just kind of a general safe string. If you're not really sure what's going on, you can kind of throw this out. This is special cancelable only before the last hit, so you have to special cancel it the last hit is special cancelable, which is important for our combos later. But nothing that he can cancel into is safe. The safest thing he can cancel into is EX Spark. But if we get him to block, you can see that this is still -12. We're really far. So almost nobody can do anything at this distance in 12 frames and find him. But there are, I think, a couple cases. I think Kano Ball might hit him as a reversal, especially if he has Vegemite up. Not that anybody's playing Dirtbag, to be fair, but either way, it's definitely not your turn if they block here. And so in general, when you input this string and you see them blocking, the best thing to often do is just to not cancel it at all. You typically want to cancel this only when you see these first two hits hitting. The other string that comes out of 1 is 1 2 2, and this string isn't very notable by itself, just out in in the neutral and stuff, because it does similar damage, but the second hit is a lot slower. It does end in an overhead, which is a little bit nice, but the string is so slow and so recognizable because that second hit gut punch that people will learn to block this overhead very quickly, and you're -4, so it's not really your turn anymore. The main reason this string exists is because it has a crushing blow attached to it, which triggers if you counter hit or punish somebody with this string. So if we go in here and we turn on reversal throws, for example, so this punches him up into a launch, which you can combo off mid-screen or in the corner. And that's really going to be your main use for it. When you either want to jam somebody's string, like say, Liu Kang is a really good example. Liu Kang players love to spam forward 3, up 3. Or forward 4, 3, up 3, excuse me. Well, there's a gap between forward 4, 3 and the up 3 where you can jam this string in there. And because it's counter hitting him, it crushing blows him too. It's also very useful for anything that's negative. Like this is a 7-frame starter, so anything that's -8 or more, well, you can catch them with this. The problem is it doesn't have much range, so it needs to be stuff that actually either pushes. What the hell was that? Sorry, Windows. Either pushes them into you, or is negative enough that you can take a step forward before you hit this. A good example of that would be well, actually, I'm not sure this will work. I expected him to have thin ice. Yeah, it does. So you can see how you wound up really close there. You can choose to use your crushing blow on a punish like that. It also works on Sub-Zero slide, but you have to take a step forward to do it. And in the combos section, a little bit later, I'll go over the combos off that crushing blow. But for the most part, that's when you're using this string. You're not using this in the neutral. You're typically going to use 1-1-2 in those situations, or like back 3-1 or something else that we'll get to. This is mostly just for punishing. If you really need an overhead and you think they're just blocking low a lot, you can do that off of a different string. But it doesn't hurt to throw out because, oh, he's still got reversal throws on. The string is only -4. That's actually one notable thing about Baraka, is that he actually doesn't have any unsafe strings. They are all anywhere from like -2 to -7, as far as I know. Oh, actually, I think this is -8 by itself. No, not even that. He's just safe in general, which kind of makes him nice for picking up the game. You don't have to worry about getting punished on your normals. But yeah, that's 1-2-2. The only other normal he's got with the 1 button is his down 1, which is pretty unremarkable for a down 1. It's 7 frames, so it's like the standard down 1, 2 active. I think it's like -3. Yeah. It doesn't have a lot of range. This button for Baraka in particular is actually mostly just used in combos. It's not really that poke that you go to when you need to like get somebody off you. You see players do this down 1 spam a lot when they're like, they'll do something slightly negative and then down 1 immediately, trying to steal their turn. You'd use down 3 with that for Baraka, and we'll get to that in a minute. This move, though, is mostly used to extend combos in the corner. You shouldn't really be using it like most characters down 1 because this down 3 exists. Now, this variation, though, has a move in down forward 1. This is a lot better. This is 1 frame slower than down 1, but as you can see, the range is like massive. Most people cannot poke at this kind of speed to compete with this. Moreover, I mean, look at this hit stun here. It's a +17 poke that knocks them really far. So when you're playing a sort of a neutral game here, they will never backstep this. A lot of the times in those sort of close you know, stagger situations, one thing people will do is they'll poke and they'll try to back, and then they'll step back and try to whiff punish you. Well, when they step back against you, I mean, good luck getting out of range of this, right? This is a really valuable poke. And pretty much replaces, you know, down 1 in general. So down 1, not so hot. If you need that, you're either hitting down 3 or down forward 1 most of the time. It is still special cancelable, but there's really no point in special canceling this move most of the time. This move is like plus or minus like 3 or 4. It's like the same as his down 1. So in general, it's just better. It just has 1 frame slower startup. And if you really need that kind of speed, you have your down 3. So his standing 2, this is one of his more unremarkable buttons. There's only a couple of strings and buttons of his like this. It doesn't have too much of a use. There's only one string here that goes 2 and then into 1+3 for this sort of longer range jab. Now this thing is +1, but there isn't too much use for it, except for the fact that it's the only plus move other than down 4 that leaves him relatively close. The problem is that there's a pretty decent gap between the 2 and the 1+3. And so if they are doing something like a down 1, you're never going to get this out. So it's just not that amazing. And while it does go relatively far, we also have moves like forward 2 that also go pretty far. It's not the worst option, but when you have options like back 4 as well, this doesn't get a lot of use, in my opinion. At least in my play. It's also not cancelable. So in general, it's an option, and it's sort of good if you're gonna backstep and finish a round maybe, but I just feel like there's better options. And it's one of the few buttons I think that Baraka doesn't wind up pressing very much. So we've also got back 2, and this is his only overhead that comes out immediately. All of his other 2 overheads are at the end of strings. This one is just an overhead by itself. It has a lot of forward movement, as you can see. You can clear quite a bit of screen space with this. The big downside to this being the obviously slow startup of 28. In my opinion, this is not actually the greatest move for gap closing because of how slow and sort of obvious this animation is. Decent players will pick up on this move relatively fast and start blocking it. You're not punishable like most of everything of Baraka. I think you're -5 here. But it's definitely not your turn. And you're not even going to be able to like down 1 your way out of that. So typically this gets used in knockdown situations. Like right after a sweep. Hey, stop blocking for a sec. This is a pretty good time for a back 2. This knockdown in particular is really well timed for like an immediate back 2. You just have to be careful about your spacing. It is possible sometimes to go over the opponent in the corner. But otherwise, it's mostly just there to mix up your wake-up attack options. But don't overuse this one, because good players are going to block it, and they're just going to steal a turn. And you really don't want to be negative point blank against a lot of characters in this game. So, yeah. Decent move, but we have better options for closing gaps really fast. Oh yeah, down 2. So down 2 is the standard uppercut. Has a crushing blow like everybody does. The only notable thing about Baraka's down 2 is that it has a really forward-reaching hitbox. Most down 2s don't reach that far, but if we creep up here, that's how far out Baraka can hit with his down 2. That's really far. Like, very, very few people are hitting from this distance. And it actually makes his uppercut pretty safe, right? Because down 2s already have a lot of pushback, but you're hitting so far away that, like, nobody can do anything. You're -7 anyway. Look at this. This is a pretty good button for Baraka. This forward hitbox of his, how it's so extended by his arm blades, also helps with beating a lot of these jump 3s. There's some really good jump 3s in this game. Baraka's maybe actually being the best one. It's him or Shao Kahn, I would say. These jump 3s are typically really hard to anti-air unless you uppercut really early. His is a little bit nicer in that there seems to be like a little bit of a disjointed hitbox here. And these things You know, it's hard to jump kick past the blade to actually find Baraka's head, you know what I mean? So you'll typically win out against some jump attacks that other people might get stuffed by. Otherwise, I'll go over the crushing blow stuff in the combo section at the end, but the crushing blow is a pretty standard one, sort of a combo launcher. So his 3 button, this is one of the other buttons of his that is basically whack. Like, there's really just no use for this. Typically, if you see this button, it's on accident. The reason for that is because he has a standing 4, which does basically the exact same thing, but better. It's the same startup. It's also a high. This one does less damage. This one's +4. Standing 3 is like -7. I don't know why. I have no idea why I'd ever hit this. But yeah, so chalk that up to, you know, there are worse problems than having a bad standing 3, I'll tell you. Just ask Devora. So the main reason to use your 3 button is back 3, which is this stomp, like foot stomp. The string that comes out of this is back 3-1-2, which is a low mid overhead string. This is a really good string for a few reasons. Number 1, all hits of this are safe. You can stop here and be safe, you can stop here and be safe, and you can stop here and be safe. I think they're all -6. This is -7. But this is -6, and then finishing the string is -6. The second reason is that this button actually takes a pretty good step forward. It's not like Liu Kang's forward 4 exactly, but it's pretty far-reaching. And some moves you'll find, like Sub-Zero's slide, for example, when they're done around this range, like pretty far out, when you block it, he's not right next to you anymore. Like when they hit you from that kind of distance, they don't always wind up in range for you to do like a 1 or 2 starter. This move will always find those kind of situations just because of that big step. So if you know the move is more than -15, you can safely start with this if you just don't know if you know, you haven't labbed the reach of those punishes. This is also a hit confirmable string. Back 3-1. You can kind of stagger this. It's only -4 when you stop back 3-1. And while this isn't the fastest move in the game, you can definitely kind of play with this. You know, you can do this and sometimes steal a turn. You're usually in range to down 3 here. And this is a really good turn stealer because he leans away a little bit. This does matter, by the way. Like, the fact that he leans away, it does, like, fuck up mids and stuff a little bit. But yeah, this is just a really good starter. Starts low, so if they're moving around, you'll clip them. This can be hit confirmed. And then if you see them blocking, you can always just finish the string. The last part of the string is not cancelable, obviously, but it's safe too. Yeah, just a pretty good string overall. Let's see. Right, down 3. So this is the button that kind of replaces his down 1. There's almost no reason to down 1 in this with this character when you can down 3. The only disadvantage is that you're -4 instead of -3 on this button. But the reason you want to do it is that it has the same range. Like, these have the exact same range, right? Actually, this one sometimes hits even further out. This will probably depend on like how the character is standing even. But they're basically the same exact range, even though they don't quite look it. The big reason to use this button over down 1 is the hit advantage. This is +14, whereas his down 1 is only +10. This matters a lot online in particular, but even offline, it's so much easier to jail into a high starter off of this move. So whenever you hit this, you can force them to block a high attack as long as you get that high attack out while they're still in recovery of this. And that's why you use this button kind of as a replacement for your down 1. It's just way safer to do this, not down forward 1, just down 3. And you can start from any high starter you want. He also has down forward 3, just like he has down forward 1. This is a low poke that has quite a bit of range. It's the same situation as down forward 1, where it's 1 frame slower, but the same block advantage. I don't wind up using this one as much, just because I'm probably hitting down forward 1 in this situation, rather than a low. You can if you just see them stand blocking a lot, but the hit advantage is really not there. And there's really usually not much of a reason to go for this instead of down forward 1, I find. But it's there. So, and it's not like a terrible option, so feel free to poke people's feet. And finally, so the 4 button. Standing 4 is mostly used for combo purposes. It is, however, +4. And it's a 10 frame move. Like I said, it totally makes this move just totally useless. You're not typically going to try to get plus frames off this, because you would have, since it's a high, you'd basically have to set up to guarantee that they'd have to block it. And there's not much point in like hitting a down 3 and then going for this to force them to block it and be +4. You're already +14. You would just do something. So there's not much reason to just like throw this button out. But it is a staple in all of his combos, and when we get to combos, I'll go over that. That's pretty much your main use for it. It is actually sort of decent at catching anti-air situations, though. Like if we turn on like this. So when you get these, you can down 1 people a lot of the time out of the air, like when they jump over you. Sometimes when they get over across of you, down 4 is not, or standing 4 is not going to reach them, but like that. So this is a pretty good button for that. Some people will try to do this into 1-1-2, and you'll see what just happened there. That happens a lot. It's really not safe to down 1 into 1-1-2 as an anti-air, and it's not safe to do it off of a standing 1 either. So in those cases, standing 4 is the button you want. And you can see Gutted has like a total tractor beam effect. But yeah, that's what standing 4's main purpose is going to be. Just fitting into your combos and sometimes converting off of air situations. Back 4, in my opinion, maybe like top 3 sweeps in the game. 14 frame startup, humongous range. He takes a nice like lunge forward as he does this. It's only -2, so they don't even really get to challenge here because of the space. Like most characters are not filling this much space that effectively. Sub-Zero can. Fucking hate this guy. But this is just a great button. This is really good in the neutral when you're in sort of a projectile war and the space starts to collapse a little bit and you get closer. Like this is just so hard to avoid. And once you get this knockdown, like I said before, you know, you creep in, you get this knockdown. You can do a back 2 there, you know. This just gives you enough advantage to start your offense. And it's just it's tough for people to react to this. I think partly because he doesn't have like a really low animation. You know, Kano's a really amazing sweep, gets super low. His just kind of looks like a standing attack that goes for your leg. Yeah, apply this button liberally. It's quite good. Forward 4, the other super important button for neutral. This knee is awesome for a lot of reasons. Number 1, it's only 12 frames. That's pretty fast for a mid. It's not the fastest for sure, but it's fast enough in most cases. It's active for 5 frames, and this is really important to understand as you get better at the game. This move can be +2 on block, right? Because it's active for 5 frames. That means if you hit on the last active frame, you're +2. If you hit right up close and they block, you're going to be -2. So you're anywhere from -2 to +2 off this move. Essentially, on average, you're going to be neutral when you jump in and they block this with your spacing, right? Which means down 3 after this move is really fucking annoying for them, right? Because A, if they do anything but down 1 after they block this, you're going to beat them still, right? 2, like if you wind up doing this a couple of times and convincing them to block afterward, then you can do this into more pressure. Like you can do this, get something else started, and just really annoy them. This is also an amazing whiff punisher because this move is cancelable. So if you see somebody whiff something in your face, you can just forward into gutted and snatch them up for it. This move also has an extension of forward 4-4, which goes crazy far, right? This is another really good whiff punisher if somebody's doing something really stupid on the other side of the screen. Like if you're in mid-screen and Jade tries to put on her fucking armor, you kick her in the face. Like, do not let her get away with that for free, right? Just be like, no, bitch. No, thank you. This cannot be canceled, but this is a crushing blow. And with this spec in particular, with this variation, you don't really get anything from this crushing blow mid-screen, but you do in the corner. Mid-screen, the only thing you can do is cancel into either your flag to give you a little bit of a damage buff, or you can cancel into fatal blow if you have fatal blow available. Otherwise, you need to be in the corner to cancel this crushing blow into gutted, or anything else for that matter. You just don't have anything that will reach mid-screen. And I'll go over the combos off that crushing blow in a minute. So the last button here is down 4. This doesn't look like a great button at first, but in practice, this is actually a really useful button. It's 15 frame startup, so not the quickest button in the world. But this animation where he gets low like this, his hitbox actually gets that low. And this is really important for one really goofy reason I'll show you here. Let's turn on shield heal. See that? He did his get up attack. He's not able to hit me because I'm so low. This move actually gets really low to the ground. And if you, as long as you time it right, you see that? I actually punished him. So if you read that they're going to do a get up attack, you can take this read. If you have to time it right for sure. And it's a little bit tricky. But it's definitely like not that hard. And it is kind of fucked up to punish somebody for doing an invincible wake up. Especially one that like you're point blank avoiding. So that's like one of the trickier uses of it. It is +1 on block, so you can just kind of throw it out. But you know, just be prepared to have this get stuffed sometimes because it's 15 frames, so not fast enough to just rely on. But oh, the other thing about this move is that if you are using it in neutral, this thing is +25 on hit. Like this stagger is enormous. See how far it sends them? So this into this is guaranteed. They can't interrupt that. You can also do this into forward 4, depending on your range. Like it won't work at the very tip, but remember that this is +25, so you can dash into this and sort of start your offense from there. So this is a pretty good way to start offense. And you should probably experiment in the matchups when you're fighting each character and just see what you can duck with this. Because this is definitely the move that gets him the lowest profile possible. Okay, so let's go over his specials really quick. Blade Spark. This is actually a pretty good projectile for a character who seems to be built around close range. It's not like super remarkable, but the 16 frame startup and 70 damage on a hit is definitely better than average. The only real downside to this is that the recovery is not great. Like if you see how long it takes me to get back into block, what this means is that if you get into a projectile war with somebody, you'll often trade. Depending on what character that is, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. Because you will out damage some people in a projectile war. Obviously, some characters like Sub-Zero here, you simply can't afford that. Like you can't be in a projectile war with this character. Because obviously, you hit him for 70, he freezes you, right? And then he comes over and kicks you in the face. Scarlet 2 is another one that's annoying because sometimes she'll hit you first and then amp and get life back, and it's hard to win a prolonged war with her. But in general, this is just like a really solid control tool. Also, the EX version of this is a mid, and it's pretty hard to punish. Like I said, if they block, sorry, if they block EX, it's -12, but you're kind of far here. Oops, block please, block please. You're kind of far here at -12. You're typically not going to be able to get punished by anybody. And this does a lot of chip. Like in total, that's like 37 points of damage on chip. So it's a decent way to put pressure on people that are really low on health. Although the next move we're going to talk about, Chop Chop, is even better at that. So Chop Chop is like the de facto combo ender for Baraka, unless you want the gutted crushing blow. And I'll talk about gutted in a minute, but in general, your combos are going to end in this move. And this is down back 3. Blade Spark is down back 1. I don't think I said that. But yeah, so Chop Chop down back 3 isn't something you typically just throw out. It's not actually safe on block. As you can see, like usually you get pushed out on block and this doesn't even reach. You can obviously be punished for this. The only thing is, this is a really hard move to punish in that it doesn't always end at the same. You have to mash this move to extend it. Well, you don't have to mash either, and it just ends, right? I could mash a few times, or I could mash all the way. And so people are always unsure, like, when they can push a button to punish you. And oftentimes, they'll stick their hand into the blender on accident, and you'll get a free hit. So in that sense, it's almost safe, I guess, but not really. You're typically just going to want to use this to finish out your hit confirm combos. I'll go over some more on this in the combo section. There's really not much else to Chop Chop. There is a brutality with this, which you, as long as you're hitting, like if this is the move that finishes him, you can press down, down, down. One of the better brutalities in the game. Now, the real star of the show for this spec is Gutted, which is back forward 4. This variation is pretty much entirely based around this move. When you don't amplify, it's not actually that special. It's like a mid attack, does 120 points of damage. It does 4 hits, which is relevant for the crushing blow for this move. Where this move really shines is in the... Hey, stop blocking, please. When you amplify this move, it throws him into the air. This is sort of like your main combo extender. And so all of your decent damage offense comes out of spending meter on that move. So like your whole game plan kind of revolves around confirming something into Gutted, amplifying it, and then ending the combo. Although, like I said a minute ago, you typically want to finish your combos into Chop Chop. Like that. So there's an example of like 1 meter damage you get mid-screen. This move does have a crushing blow, which is a requirement where the combo needs to be 9 hits or more before you get to Gutted, and then it will crushing blow. And those are the situations where you're going to end a combo in Gutted instead of Chop Chop. So for example, if I start with 1-1-2 and then it crushing blows, this move does this crushing blow, besides doing a shitload of damage up front, puts a bleed on them for another 100 points of damage. I think it's the highest bleed in the entire game. So that combo you just saw actually did a total of 490 for 1 bar off of just my 1-1-2 starter. So that crushing blow is definitely the most important one you have, and the one that you're trying to get into play every game. Like your goal in general, first off, is to land Gutted so that you can amp it, and then at some point doing a combo long enough that you trigger the crushing blow. Like, typically you're not going to lose a round where that crushing blow comes into play, because that combo's basically guaranteed to take at least half their life. The only other move Baraka has, special move wise, is Warbanner, which is down back 4. This move's pretty hard to use in this variation, because all he can do is just raw summon it. What it does is it gives you 20% more damage while it's out. As you can see, it's only out for about 5 or 6 seconds, which isn't a lot of time to do anything with. It also has a pretty long startup and recovery, as you can see here. It's about a full second, I think. Which means it's not safe to ever just do, right? If somebody sees this, they can usually do something fast to punish it. The only time you can really get this out in the neutral is when you're in full screen situations like this, and you're in projectile battles. You can duck a high projectile and immediately drop this. And against smart players, they're going to be less likely to want to sit here and be in this fireball war with you, because when this flag is out and does 20% more damage, these projectiles start to really hurt. Like, look at that. An EX projectile did 16%. You know, that's not something you can just take lightly. But otherwise, you can't really just get the flag into play very easily. The other situation where you can sometimes do it is if you get a crushing blow off forward 4 mid-screen, you can cancel that directly into flag, and you're only minus 16 in that situation, and they're pretty far away. So it's kind of safe, and nobody's really going to be looking for it most of the time, so... But again, you're only buying yourself a few seconds of damage boost. So this is not a big deal for this spec, in my opinion. And I definitely wouldn't trade a lot of your wake-up situations for trying to get a flag out, because A, none of them are safe. There are no knockdowns in this character's arsenal that give you enough time to safely put this out. If they see that, there's definitely a chance they're going to punish you for it. Yeah, really, you're just only going to get it most of the time when you do your Fatal Blow. Baraka's Fatal Blow automatically gives you a flag at the end, because he stabs him in the gut with it. That's pretty much the only time you're going to have the flag, honestly. Because usually you're not going to want to do your Crushing Blow mid-screen off this, unless it's going to finish a round. So, look for the occasional opportunity to do it in a projectile war, and kind of scare them, make them think like, oh geez, you know, make them second guess their projectile war. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about that move too much. So let's get into some bread and butter combos here. Like I said before, all of your main combos revolve around gutted. So regardless of how you start a combo, it's typically going to want to cancel into gutted, get amplified, and then get extended. And there's pretty much one route that covers all your combos. So let's say we start with 1-2-2, amp into gutted, we do a dash into a standing 4 into another gutted, and that gives us the crushing blow. Now, this extension here, right here, this is a dash into a standing 4. This is more damage. I know you've probably seen a lot of people. They will do 1-1-2. Sorry, they'll do 1-1. Good grief. They'll do this, and they'll do that instead. This isn't just less damage by a little bit. In my opinion, it's definitely harder to execute, particularly online. There's no real reason for it. The trick to this extension is that you can buffer a dash right here. When you do the gutted amplify, you can just input a dash towards the end of that animation, and it'll come out when the animation's over. You can't really buffer normals in this game, but you can buffer dashes. So I don't know if you can hear my arcade stick, but did you hear how early I input that dash compared to when it actually came out? That's how much time you have to input the dash early. So definitely just input that dash earlier than you might think, and then it'll automatically come out at the end of gutted. I hit it a little bit too early there. I'm trying to find the sort of max limit of the buffer here. So whether you go into gutted or chop chop is going to depend on whether you have your gutted crushing blow available and whether you just want to use it. You know, maybe they're already almost dead and you just don't want to waste it. In that case, you can just end with chop chop instead. So all of your starters work off that same combo route unless you really do want the gutted crushing blow. Now, if you need the gutted crushing blow, some of your starters are only 2 hits, right? Back 3-1, for example. Forward 2-1. I actually don't know if I talked about forward 2-1. We should probably take a second. I think I didn't talk about that. Forward 2-1 is a really good string. There's actually forward 2-1-2. This is a +1 string. As you can see, there's a big gap at the end, so be careful about getting flawless block there. But forward 2-1 in particular is notable because of it's an 8-frame startup, which is quite fast. It's a high mid, but that mid comes out very fast, so it's unlikely that they're going to be able to do anything if they duck this. The big thing about this string is that it goes really far, and there are moves like Aaron Black's overhead, like that drop kick, that really annoying move. When he does that on block, he can amplify it and shoot low. I'm sure you've seen that before, and it sucks. Well, Baraka, because it's only like -11, Baraka can block that and still get to him with this forward 2-1 usually. So at the very tip, you can still get a combo into Blade Spark, right? And so you should definitely try to find cases where you can punish people for really hard to punish things with that string. But this string is another example where you're going to start off 2 hits. And if you start from a 2-hit combo like back 3-1 and you just do the regular -4, you don't get the crushing blow because you only had 8 hits by the time you got to the second gutted. And so that's a case where you are going to want to insert a jump, right? So we do back 3-1 again. This time we're going to insert a jump down forward 1 into a forward 4. The forward 4, the knee, will give us that distance to catch them after that jumping attack. See? So that's when you're going to want to use those jump extensions whenever you're starting off of a back 3-1 or a 1-2 for some reason, or a forward 2-1. Anytime where you're just not starting, or even a standing 4, right? You're going to need the extra jump hit to get to 9 hits if you really want the gutted crushing blow. If you don't want the crushing blow, though, you can just do this into standing 4 into chop chop, and this is 350 damage for 1 bar. So let's talk about crushing blow combos mid-screen, because they're different than our corner. We'll talk about corner combos second. So let's turn our reversals on again. So there's 2 main crushing blows that you might be getting mid-screen, which are, let's turn his block on to always. Okay, so there's the down 2-1, right? And there's also 1-2-2. Both of these launch, they're a little bit different, but thankfully we can use the same combo route for both of these. So regardless of which one we get -4 into gutted, into -4 into gutted. This is 509 damage plus 100 bleed. So about 61% of their life. 1-2-2 is the same way. So if we land this, -4 gutted, amp, -4 gutted. This one comes out to be 449 plus 100 bleed. Obviously, if you don't have the crushing blow or you don't want to spend it, you do the same thing, but you change the last special move into chop chop. -4 gutted, into amp, into -4 chop chop. 493 for 1 bar and the crushing blow. And it's no different for this one. They're all the same combo route. So basically, you're mostly going to be doing a dash, like a dash and a stand forward buffer after every launch, unless you're doing something that starts off of a 2-hit, and then you're going to need to do one of the jump. But off of the crushing blows, you never need to do that. You only need to do the dash 4 extensions. So let's see. I think we talked about forward 2-1 being a good punisher. So let's go to the corner, because obviously all of our combo routes change a little bit here in the corner. But thankfully, like our mid-screen combos, they all kind of follow the same route, right? So if you start off of anything in the corner, it can be 1-1-2. Let me turn this reversal off. Off. So whether you're starting off of 1-1-2 or back 3-1, or forward 2-1 or anything, even just standing 4, right? You do the amp into gutted, right? You're gonna do a dash into a standing 4 like you were mid-screen. There's a little bit of timing to this, because if you do it too early, you cancel too early into the 4. Let me show you what that looks like. You'll actually be a little bit too early. It'd help if I amplified. So you can be too early, but you just need to wait like a little bit. I didn't amplify. Oh, I did amplify. Whoops. Oh god. Oh my goodness. Of course this happens when I'm recording. So that's sort of the standard combo for the corner. You can technically get 3 downed 1s there. I don't recommend doing that. It actually only adds 5 points of damage to the combo, but it gives you a much higher risk of dropping the combo. So the main extension there, the main difference in this, is that after you do your amp, you do the standing 4 into 2 down 1s into 1-1-2. And from there, you either end in gutted or chop chop. When you're in the corner, there's a little bit more merit to always ending in gutted, even if you don't have the crushing blow available, because the gutted knockdown is plus 44, whereas the chop chop knockdown is usually anywhere from like plus 5 to plus 10. Right? That one's plus 10. It does a little bit more damage, but plus 44 is a lot of time that you might need to back up if you expect them to do a get up attack or a get up roll, both of which they're going to be more likely to do in the corner than they are mid-screen, right? Because they're going to want to get out of this corner as quickly as possible, especially against Marauder that does so much damage. So ending with gutted is not really a bad idea here. Obviously, if you have the crushing blow available, you're usually going to want to use it in the corner. Now, his optimal crushing blow combos in the corner are a little bit different than they are mid-screen. Thankfully, like usual, we can use the same combo route for both of them. They're a little bit trickier though. So the idea for this, oh, if I don't act too quickly here. So the main difference there is that after we get our crushing blow, we can actually get 2 standing 4s in before we do our first gutted. And that's going to give us max damage. Right? Now you can choose to end there with either another standing 4 or a 1-1-2. I actually recommend ending with standing 4 because your muscle memory is going to get very used to this dash stand 4 stuff, and there's no reason not to just let it, because the 1-1-2 combo is only like a couple of points higher, and it's actually a couple points lower if you wind up canceling in a Fatal Blow. I'm going to talk about Fatal Blow last because of the mid-screen stuff and the forward 4 Crushing Blow. The 1-2-2 Crushing Blow is the exact same, and it's actually a little bit easier to land the 2 4s off this Crushing Blow than it is the down 2 one. I'm not sure why. I guess they actually float. They don't go as high, but they actually float for longer overall off that Crushing Blow than they do the down 2 one. But you can get 2 standing 4s obviously off of off either one of these Crushing Blows. Well, not that time. I was definitely mistiming that. I don't know if you can hear that, but I am still buffering a dash after this uppercut, right? Because that just keeps the muscle memory and the timing from doing it mid-screen. There's really no reason not to. You just dash cancel it a little bit earlier, right? So, one other thing you should know about these combos, anytime that I am ending these combos in Gutted or Chop Chop, you can also end in a Fatal Blow. So if we did this, oh, he's on reversal. We'll do one of the Crushing Blow combos, let's say. Oh, jeez. Oh my goodness. So instead of ending in Gutted, you can end in Fatal Blow. This does a shitload of damage, obviously. What you might be surprised to find is that ending in a Fatal Blow is actually slightly less damage than ending in a Gutted Crushing Blow. So which resource you use is going to depend on where you are in the match. But yeah, if you have the Gutted Crushing Blow available, it's typically worth using that first. The only time that you really want to end in the Fatal Blow is if you need that life to kill them. Like if they only have 500 life, end in the Fatal Blow, because you don't want to do like 449 plus 100, because they'll still be alive. They have to bleed out, and the bleed can't even kill them. You can't kill opponents with dots in this game. So if you're gonna outright kill them, end in the Fatal Blow. Otherwise, it's probably better to use your Crushing Blow resource than your Fatal Blow, in my opinion. The Fatal Blow has considerations like being able to use it in the neutral as an armor move. Partly because Baraka's Fatal Blow is actually quite fast. This Fatal Blow has only a 13 frame startup, which is quite a bit faster than most people's. Which means you can use it to jam a lot of gaps and just sort of catch people out in the neutral. Whereas you're not going to have as many opportunities to land your Gutted Crushing Blow if people are playing really safe, right? Or they use their breakaway. One thing I should mention, I mentioned this on my channel in a separate video, but when you're playing with Baraka, there are at least two different launches where your breakaway or your Fatal Blow can be used out of a launch to hit a breakaway. And that is after this here. If you do a dash canceled into a Fatal Blow, and they do their breakaway because they don't want to eat a huge damage combo, the Fatal Blow will hit them at a breakaway, because breakaways are not immune to Fatal Blows. Like, one of the functions of Fatal Blows is that they pierce armor. So if you are really certain your opponent is going to try to break away because they're like, oh shit, I got down 2 Crushing Blow, just do a dash into a Fatal Blow and you'll hit them anyway. You can do the same thing off of your forward 1-2-2. It's the same deal. I think with forward 1-2-2, you have to Fatal Blow immediately, actually. Let's turn on breakaway really quick. Help if I... Yeah, so you have to... This is the Crushing Blow that you have to... If you think your opponent's going to break away this, you can Fatal Blow immediately and hit them. But that has to be a read. Off of the down 2... Let's go mid-screen really quick, so I can show you this. No, do the down 2. So if you do the dash mid-screen, like they can't break away this. And if they don't break away, right, and you do, like if we do a whole dash here, you can basically get an entire dash and break and fatal blow, and it'll still hit a breakaway. If they don't break away and you do that full dash, you'll still hit them. So off of a down 2 crushing blow, they cannot avoid getting fatal blowed as long as you time that dash correctly. You buffer the dash out of the crushing blow and try to get an entire dash in, just as the dash is ending, hit your fatal blow, and it will catch them whether they break away or not. The last crushing blow that I'm going to save for last because it's very finicky is our crushing blow off of this 4-4. Like I mentioned before, in the mid-screen, if you hit with this counter hit, the only guaranteed thing you can get, and it's not even guaranteed as you just saw, they can break away this immediately. Like if they're mashing breakaway, it happens instantly. And if they do that, your fatal blow will whiff. I'll just show that right now, in fact. So if I cancel this into fatal blow, it whiffs because he breaks away immediately. Now, a lot of humans are not going to be able to break away as fast as the AI is doing it right now, but they may be mashing breakaway and they'll just get it out of luck. So I wouldn't count on this. You can go for it, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it unless they don't have both their defensive meters and you know that they can't break away. The other thing you can do out of this crushing blow mid-screen, if I reset it really quick, you can cancel this into a flag, but as you can see, you're not plus. Like this is not, this is actually minus 16. So if they break away, they're really close to you and you're negative. So be careful with that, even dropping the flag if you think they might break away that crushing blow. A lot of people will not break away that crushing blow because they know you have less options. They know you're down 2 and your 4 or your 1-2-2 crushing blows, or just your regular gutted amplify combos do so much damage, they won't typically want to use it on this crushing blow. Just be aware that if the round is going to end and they have to do it, you can't use your fatal blow here. Now in the corner, this is different. Here, we can cancel into gutted. Let me turn breakaway off. So you can get a gutted amplify from this crushing blow so long as you're in the corner. And you have to cancel the crushing blow animation into your gutted. This actually is done pretty early, like right here. Well, maybe it's that was a little bit too early. But you actually you cancel those really early. And you saw there that I did like a jump attack. I think I didn't mention this combo, and I should because it's kind of important. When you hit with this crushing blow, you're hitting them out of the air basically when you grab them with gutted, and so their gravity is different out of this combo. So like if I, at least I'm pretty sure this is the case. I don't think, yeah. See how much lower and how much faster they're dropping. That's because you're technically catching them with gutted out of the air. Like that forward 4 crushing blow kicks them into the air and far back. Well, when you catch somebody out of the air like that, the gravity scaling is much higher. This is also true if you jump in with your jumping 3. Let's turn his reversals off now. And we'll turn his block back to off. So when you jump in with a jumping 3, they get knocked into the air too. You can still combo them after this, right? And what you want to do, by the way, if you're going to jump at somebody with a jump 3, you want to use this is where you want to use your standing 4. You can go right into gutted. And that's sort of the optimal jumping 3 combo that I've found. You kind of just trust your sort of standing 4 route. Where you do this, standing 4 into gutted. You fit a jumping down forward 1 here though, and you have enough hits to get your gutted crushing blow. you can use a down 1 there too, like you would in your regular combo, right? But there's no reason to. You can also end this combo, these aerial catches, with 1-1-2. So you can do a jump down forward 1 into 1-1-2, right? This is actually slightly optimal. It's like 5 points more damage. It's 5 points less damage if you go into Fatal Blow. But again, all of these combos can go into Fatal Blow or Gutted Crushing Blow or Chop Chop, depending on whether you want to use your Gutted Crushing Blow, whether you want to use your Fatal Blow to end a round, or whether you just want the damage. But you want to fit in the jumping down forward 1 right there, because it does more damage than a down 1 extender. So that seems to be the optimal way to do a corner combo if you start with a jumping 3, or you start with the where did it go? With this guy here. So when you get that crushing blow in the corner from forward 4-4, or you get a jumping 3, just do an immediate standing 4. Now, there is one other case I want to mention with jumping 3s, which is if we are mid-screen. Let's turn his block into off. Oh, there we go. So your jumping 3 is really, really, really good as Baraka. This thing, it's almost impossible for people to down to this. Like, you can do this so early. It's very active. It has 7 active frames. The hitbox is really forward on it. I think it's disjointed because it's so hard for people to anti-air this. But when you hit with this, they typically go that, away from you, and it's kind of tough to get a conversion off of this, right? You can't standing 4 here, obviously. And oftentimes, you won't even be fast enough to get a forward 4 in. It has to be a very late jumping 3 to convert that. But if you do this as a cross-up, like really deep, like that, they will go in the same direction, but you'll land behind them. And this is where you can get a standing 4 in, right? Typically I end this in Chop Chop. I think there's an issue with, like, that does happen sometimes. You can end this in Gutted, but I don't think you can get a crushing blow from Gutted off of this type of conversion. Oh, now I can't land that. Good grief. Figures. Oh my goodness. There we go. Yeah, so just because of the like weirdness of this combo, you typically can't get that jumping down forward 1 extension, which means you're kind of stuck not being able to do the you can't do the gutted crushing blow out of this particular situation. It's kind of tricky to hit this. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to get it from here. So you kind of just have to do the regular ender of either Gutted or Chop Chop, and I don't think you can get the crushing blow in this scenario. Doing a little bit of lab testing here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it just doesn't work from this scenario. I'm not entirely sure why. I think maybe there's actually too few hits, and the jumping down forward 1 pushes him away too far. I wonder if you can do it with just a regular down 1 though. Maybe. Do a little bit of live science. Looks sketchy. Yeah, I don't think so. You can test it for yourself, but I don't think you can get a crushing blow out of this, like, sort of jank cross-up situation. And I think the last thing I'd point out about jumping 3 is that when you are in the corner, it's really hard to get them to go the other way. Like, look at how deep you could be. This is really easy to convert off of. Like, they'll almost always go back into the corner. I don't know why, but like it's really easy to convert this with standing 4. And then you do this, and you got a, you know, you got a really nasty combo, 464 plus 100. You should trust your jump 3 most of the time, but your jumping down forward 1 is actually still decent, right? I don't know if I mentioned that, but when you start a combo off of jumping 1 or jumping down forward 1, you do your normal standing combos. So it'd be just like if you started off of 1, 1, 2. Grief. Right. But typically with Baraka, I don't jump in a lot with this jumping down forward 1. Typically with this mid-screen, this is more useful because you can get a standing combo as this jump in. But in the corner, jumping 3 is like all day. This is just such a devastating combo to land. Like, you can kill a lot of people with that sequence right there. Yeah, I don't know if I've got too much more I want to talk about with this guide. I don't want to make it too long. I just kind of want to put a decent primer out there for Baraka that shows some better combo routes. A lot of these jump punch combos aren't worth it unless they're going to trigger the crushing blow. And you should trust the standing forward button for that most of the time. But yeah, hopefully this gets you started on playing Baraka. I think he's a really solid character. Doesn't really have gimmicks, but he's got just some amazing buttons. He's got some amazing damage, and he's got some really easy combos that convert, and just stupid amounts of damage. So yeah, I hope you liked it. I hope you like playing Baraka, and I don't know, keep an eye out. I'll probably make some more Mortal Kombat videos in the future. Thanks.